Welcome back, Guardians. Welcome to a most devastating and unfortunate report dedicated to our enemies, the vile barons that have transformed themselves, the murderer of one of our spears, one of our heads of our triumvirate, our exo-hunter, Cade 6. But these barons of this new fallen house are a far cry from the fallen we have faced in the past. From under Skolas to the Siva crisis, the fallen have continually changed, adapted, evolved even, to meet their ever-changing requisites of war against the Traveler and its guardians. Remember when the Fallen unified under Skolas? They abandoned previous house-to-house rivalries in the hope that unity would provide a new future, and those dreams were defeated. When they attempted to control Siva technologies and nanites, only to be succumbed by the technology's AI-like corruption, then to disband their house banners and withdraw into the wilds of the solar system. The Fallen have always been a mystery, mixed with some overt motivations. We know they seek our great machine for themselves. They're ambitious and coordinated, have previous political motivations that date back to their whirlwind event, but this new threat, these barons, are something completely different entirely. As expected, whenever a fallen threat arrives brand new, we should not rely on the past, but rather attempt to interpret the signs of their present motivations. Ideally, Guardians, we will attempt to do just that. These new barons are fanatics, nasty creatures that embody all the negatives we wish to be rid of. At the end of it all, our goal as Guardians is to free ourselves from the ambitions of the creatures that seek our demise. Unfortunately, good intentions and olive branches are not suitable. We must answer death and wanton destruction with an escalation of death and destruction. Ask yourself, how many fallen dregs have seen their end to your light-tipped magics, your fists, blades, and void creations? Hundreds? Maybe thousands. Collectively, between us, perhaps even millions or more. We, Guardians, have experienced this, the fall of humanity that led us into the original Dark Age, untold hundreds of years ago, saw humanity pressed to extinction, and by need, desperate measures to remain alive. The Fallen, in a way, are in a similar circumstance, pressed against the knife point of the end of their species, motivated by any chance to remain alive. You could ask, why not seek an end to the conflicts, sue for peace, and usher a new age of freedom from warfare against one more foe? But history is like a cold pain. It lingers with you, attaching itself to the heart and mind. Six fronts, the Reef, Skolas, and Siva, all of these points in history that saw human life lost. And ask yourself, would you be so quick to forgive an untold millions of souls washed out? It is our history together that forbids us from forgiveness and a future of peace. The only future for humanity and the Fallen is the removal of one or the other. And this is even more evident with these new barons of the Scorn. The first of whom is called the Fanatic, an apt name for a zealot, bent on nothing more than misery and greed, called Fikrul in the Elixni tongue. He is the leader of the Scorn, following the command and wishes of Prince Uldren Zav. Much like the first Siva crisis, these Scorn believe themselves to be an evolution, creatures that have hit their apex, and this Fanatic is the one who rallies all of the remaining Scorn into these dreadful transformations. Unsurprisingly, Fikrul was once an Archon priest, but with a unique twist. We know Archons to be incredibly powerful, but oftentimes attached to a prime servitor, providing the much-needed life essence of Aether to a fallen house. This Fikrul was a heretic, spouting anti-Great Machine prophecies in direct opposition to the rest of the fallen houses, making him truly unique in stature and position. It will be interesting to see how this failed Archon priest performs in battle, and what type of empowerment it can provide, especially if it is against the practice of worshipping prime servitors. There is the Machinist, also known as Elicris, the second in command of the Scorn, with an aptitude for machine technology, munitions, weapons management, and siege warfare. A hoarder to the highest of degree, with thief-like tendencies, uniquely positioned to provide valuable technologies to the remainder of the Scorn, while increasing her own treasure trove of lost relics. Elicris is a threat, make no mistake. Any Fallen that has the ability to climb from the rank of Dreg to second in command of the Scorn should be respected. There are countless tales of her raids on Martian and Jovian installations. The Reef and humanity alike have seen her ferocity in battle, and while consumed by avarice, she is undoubtedly a clever opponent. Now, to perhaps the most interesting of these barons, the Mindbender, or Hyrax, a fallen Scorn with a tie to the Hive Ascendant realms. Rumor has it that Hyrax was a Dreg. He fell deep into one of the Hive-born tunnels deep within the Hellmouth on the Luna Moon. The experience changed him, for lack of a better description, but not into a Hive meal, but rather a weapon that has the ability to wash away the predispositions of his enemies and transform them into his pawns, seen controlling the various Hive broods' lesser intelligence. This Hyrax is perhaps one of the more mysterious enemies you may have to face. There was another report here from the Vanguard. Where is it? Yes, here it is. The Gasper Slaughter, 43 Awoken Lost, system-wide manhunt, brainwashing of the Crows, counter-espionage to inspire Earth to Reef relations, and something about an Asteroid 128 Nemesis. Take great care in these details, Guardians. This Hyrax could be linked to Uldren's sudden change in allegiance, perhaps even controlling the Scorn, Uldren, and the new threats yet to arise against us. Next we have the Trickster, an awful nuisance for a Scorn Baron, more annoyance than actual threat. This Araskis seems more inclined to interest herself in those caught in her foul schemes than actually win a war. A theme that has been set across many of the Scorn, these Barons seem to be specialists, extremists that focus on one or two specific things, all with the accompanying traits like inherited madness and the inability to know when they've lost. Araxes is the chief spy for the rest of the Scorn, known to use vile tricks with a magician's sleight of hand to tether enemies in her web of plots, whether it comes to actual battlefield tactics or that of espionage. She is not a warrior of arm or shield, but rather a gladiator of the mind, able to outthink or outmaneuver almost any foe, and much like a warlock, is still a threat to you, even if their appearance or stature is meek and feeble. There is the Mad Bomber, another extremist Scorn, fixated on nothing more than destruction in the most explosive form. Called Canix in their tongue, he is the atypical demolitionist, missing fingers, scarred hands, and face, all products of years of experience, tampering, tinkering, and experimenting with the chemistry of death. A terrorist of the Reef, as the report from the destroyed Origin libraries, one of the remaining Awoken holdouts. It was his attempt to assassinate the royal members of the ruling Uldren family. It's unknown if these attempts at murder were successful or not, but what we do know is that Canix is a most extreme threat, designing new ways to leave us and the Reef in fiery ash. There is the Hangman, a Rekus Vaughn, a lunatic ready to eliminate and decimate those who oppose him. Following in the footsteps of the anti-Great Machine worship tendencies, the Hangman takes a unique pleasure in torturing servitors, the supposed life-givers of all the Fallen, in a truly unique turning point in the Fallen history. Specifically, the The Hangman is known for ending the fallen House of Wolves, down to the last dregs and servitors. Another theme that runs amongst these Scorn is their hatred of themselves, of the previous fallen culture, and this Hangman is the embodiment of that vile emotion, set upon tearing down the cultural tendencies of generations, the weakness that embodies all fallen, and propping up a new vision for all fallen in the Scorn. The remaining Barons, the Rider Yavix and the Rifleman Purha, are notable yet lesser in rank when compared to their commanders. Both, however, are perhaps more ambitious in their need to murder, steal, and dominate, as their want to prove themselves to the other Barons grow. Purha is responsible for the deaths of the various awoken paladins, and is called the Ghost of Hellrise Canyon. Through the use of salvaged hologram technology and clever sniper emplacements. If you do face down Purha, be mindful of these classic sniper warfare tricks. He is likely to fire and immediately displace, only to fire again from another concealed location. The Rider Yavix is a leader of a notorious pike gang, hell-bent on utilizing hit-and-run guerrilla tactics to spread fear and death amongst her enemies. She has razed the Techuan temples and various awoken outposts, leaving hundreds dead. A monster of the Scorn, if the other Barons have not already convinced you. This is who we face, Guardians. Our enemies are extremists of the worst sort, specialists in their fields of death, with the motivation of creating a new fallen race, free from the chains of their past. They seek our end. They've killed one of our vanguard, one of our own, in some twisted plot of revenge. And now they seek to remove our awoken allies from the reef, then set their sights on us and our downfall. These Barons must be eliminated systematically, one by one, until you stand upon their corpse pile while your banner of victory waves above them. Make these fallen remember that every time they have arisen anew, whether through Skolas, Siva, and now through the Scorn, that they will fail. That any of them who stand against our righteous light will be decimated, cast aside for only petty histories and folk tales. These Barons have set themselves upon us, and the fools have no idea the rage they have inspired within us all. Don't keep them waiting, Guardians. Hey guys, Wally here. So a lot of this information actually comes from the Game Informer article, and I'll have a link in the description if you want to check that out. I think it's really interesting that Bungie is trying to at least ingest a little bit more lore into the backstory of these characters. I don't know how it's going to work in the game, but I assume some of these guys are going to be mini bosses, with, you know, the Oldrunzov or the Fanatic being sort of the end boss, and we're sort of learning more about them. But this sort of fallen story arc is unique, but I don't think it's that unique. I think we've seen some of this a little bit before, and I'm not saying that Bungie is sort of reinventing the wheel here, but I think they're pulling from what was successful with Skolas and the Siva storylines and trying to kind of bridge them here and say that, look, the Fallen have gone through so many changes in their story and destiny that this is sort of the apex. This is it. This is their last attempt at really trying to transform themselves. One of the unique lines here was that the Fanatic, the leader of these Barons, is set on sort of using the whirlwind and having it be the actual endpoint for the Fallen and transforming them into something new. Like, the exact quote is that the whirlwind should have ended the Fallen, but instead they've sort of limped on forever. But he wants to use this as the whirlwind end so that he can recreate or at least restart the Fallen race. The motivations with Oldrunzov, I really don't know. I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is sort of, I think, a curveball that Bungie is trying to sort of throw at us in a unique way. I think the Mindbreaker is probably one of the most unique Fallen and unique, really, enemies with a lot of unique lore, I think, attached to it in that sense, where this drag fell into the Howlmouth and was transformed in the Hive Ascendant Realm, and now comes out of it with the ability to mind wash, control other Hive, and really has a unique attachment to experimenting like the Hive wizards we've seen in the past, experimenting with light. I'm really curious. That's probably the one I'm the most interested about, and I think the one that is, again, the most unique. The rest of them seem sort of tried and true, like, you know, we've got extremists that are specialized in one or two things. So I think the Fanatic and the Mindbender, the Mindbreaker, those two are probably the most interesting characters that I think we're going to run into. And I really hope that we see very fleshed out lore when it comes to Gambit. Overall, I'm very excited, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. If you guys want to see these sort of more in-depth lore videos, if you want to see some talk at the end where I go out of character and we kind of talk through it a little bit more. I'm open to all of this, and as always, guys, I really appreciate your support. Sunday videos are my goal all the time, with optional Wednesday videos sort of coming in. It's going to be Destiny, it's going to be Fallout, it's going to be Elder Scrolls, maybe some Warframe, maybe some Division, a bunch of other games out there, but end of the day, this is for you guys and because I'm passionate about it, so I hope you guys enjoy. If you want to join the Discord server, I implore you to. I'm in there all the time, and we actually have a pretty strong community going right now. But you guys have been great. I'll see you later. Peace.